Hi guys, and welcome back to another VGC 2019 Sun Series Pokemon guide. And in today's guide we're going to be looking at one of my ultimate, I keep saying my favourite restricted Pokemon, but Ho-Oh is really one that has a really special place in my heart. I absolutely love this Pokemon, and it's one that I hope will be featured on the channel very soon, so do stay tuned for that, obviously, and also other things to stay tuned for, and make sure you don't miss any of them or these guides that we have coming out at the moment. We've covered quite a lot of Pokemon so far. As always, I will just link to the playlist up in the right top hand corner right now. You can click on that, it'll take you over to the guide section. You can look at things like Kyogre, Groudon, Xerneas, Yveltal, Mewtwo, Palkia, Dialga. I could go through all of them, so there's all the popular picks are already there. We're starting with Ho-Oh this week, and we will dive straight into it. So, as always, thank you so much for tuning in, and I do really hope you are enjoying and getting a lot of benefit out of these guides. So, let's take a quick overview of Ho-Oh. So, it is a flying fire type. It has the ability Pressure. It's got that 680 base stat total like most of the other restricted Pokemon, and its distribution is 106 HP, 130 attack, 90 defense, 110 special attack, 154 special defense, and 90 speed. So the ones that stand out, jump out to you straight away, are going to be that special defense stat of 154, which is just monstrous, and the 130 attack stat as well. So really nice distribution there. I feel it's one of the better distributed restricted Pokemon, to be honest. That those defense stats 106, 90 and 154 are just incredible. You can see, because it is a flying fire type, I should have put that the other way around. Fire flying is easier to say. It's got weaknesses to rock 4 times, unfortunately, water 2 times, electric 2 times. It is immune to ground because of its flying type, and it does have some nice resists as well because of its typing. Fighting, bug, steel, fire, grass, and fairy. So some really nice resists there. So you've got the fairy resist, the steel resist, they're very popular in this format, the grass resist as well, and also that fire resist as well. That's really nice, and then hit normally by everything else. So as we always do in these guides, let's move on to the next section. It is going to be looking at the sample set. So the first sample set that we're going to look at is probably my favourite from the sample sets that we've got in these guides, but don't take that as an opportunity to leave after this, because the other sets have got a lot of value and they give you nice options and different ways to play Ho-Oh and how it can be useful in your team. So we're starting off with a Super Berry set, so I've just got the token Figgy Berry there. We've went for a Careful Nature, just maximising that special defensive stat. We've got an EV spread of 244 HP, 60 attack, 12 defense, 92 special defense, and 100 speed. So what does this do? This spread allows you to survive a 252 special attack Thunder from Tapu Koko into Rain, which is really nice. It survives a modest 252 special attack Hydro Pump from Ludicolo in the Rain, which is pretty nice as well. Obviously survives an adamant 252 attack Rock Slide from Groudon, survives a modest 252 special attack Origin Pulse from Kyogre in the Rain, and it also speed creeps with this speed investment. Speed creeps modest 252 Ludicolo out of Rain. So as long as you've got weather control, or whether you get a Tailwind up, you're going to be outspeeding Ludi in those situations. And just for merit's sake, the +2 Timid 252 special attack Xerneas Moonblast, or a Monblast again. My autocorrect is really annoying. It's constantly turning Moonblast into Monblast. I don't even know what Monblast is. Anyway, it turns it into a 4-hit KO, which is crazy. So a Geomancy Xerneas you can pretty much sit in front of and take on one-on-one with Ho-Oh, and like that alone just speaks volumes for Ho-Oh. It's just such a good Pokemon. So let me just turn off some of these. I've got notifications going off everywhere. I'm so sorry, guys. Right. The moveset is Roost, Tailwind, or Substitute. You could go Tailwind or Substitute. Substitute works nice with the Berry for self-procking. Tailwind obviously supports the rest of your team very well. And then Sacred Fire and Brave Bird. I mentioned throughout these guides that we have staples on some movesets. I would say Sacred Fire and Brave Bird are the staples on most of your Ho-Oh sets are going to take advantage of both typing, stab typing on Ho-Oh, and getting the boosts there from same type attack bonus and things like that. But I do really like Roost, I think, because like the list of big attacks that you can take is crazy. So imagine all of the other less powerful attacks you'll be able to take. The list will be huge. So it's a Pokemon that can sit on the field and can benefit from that Roost. It does get access to Recover, but I feel like Roost is probably more beneficial because it has got a really big weakness to rock type attacks, and if you're in certain situations, certain points in a match, roosting to take away that 4 times weakness, making it 2 times weakness, could be the difference between you winning and losing a match almost. So for just that reason alone, and it also, if you can roost, it gives you benefit from terrains if they're up and things like that. I like Tailwind because it benefits the rest of your team, but if you've got it elsewhere, you can always pop in Substitute as an option there. So really nice set. One of my favourites, and like I say, one that will hopefully be playing on the channel very soon. Next set that we're going to look at is a Pasha Berry. So, not something I would tend to go to, but looking on Ushid's stats at the moment, it's currently like second ranked item that is played on Ho-Oh. And you can kind of understand why. Kyogre is a big threat in this format, Ludicolo is as well. Players are wanting to make sure that Ho-Oh is able to take these water type attacks. So again, we went for a careful nature. We've went for an EV spread this time around. We've not went as bulky as the last one. I feel like you kind of, if you go Pasha Berry, you probably want to play a little bit speedier, a little bit more. You don't need as much investment, you want to go speedier, so I'll go into those reasons in a minute. We've got 156 HP, 12 attack, 60 defense, 44 special defense, and 236 speed, so it is quite fast. We've got Protect, Tailwind, Sacred Fight, and Brave Bird. The speed is to creep max positive natured Smeagol by 1 point, so it means that you can get a Tailwind off before Smeagol can potentially spore you, which is a pretty big deal, especially if the Tailwind is there to support the rest of your team. And the problem with Ho-Oh is you haven't got terrain protection because you're flying the type, you're not on the ground. This set survives a Groudon Adamant 252 Rock Slide. It takes a full power Water Spout in rain comfortably, and using the Pasha Berry, I feel like setup has to be a primary target with this kind of build, in my opinion. So there's that set. We'll move on to our next sample set, which is going to be the Electric Seed set. I do like this set as well, a lot. And it's a little bit of a variation. So we've got the Electric Seed as the item. We obviously need Tapu Koko to help set up that electric terrain to proc the seed. We again went for a careful nature, and I don't see why we don't do that in most situations, unless you're going full out offensive, because you want to be getting the most out of your stats. You know, it's the biggest base stat total on this Pokemon, so boosting it a further 10% means you're getting more stats out of Ho-Oh than you would be elsewhere going with another nature. We went 244 HP, 20 attack, 124 defense, 92 special defense, 28 speed. Again, it survives that Groudon Adamant 252 Rock Slide, survives Adamant 252 Zekrom Bolt Strike, which is pretty huge, and survives a Jolly 252 Attack Life Orb Wild Charge in terrain from Tapu Koko. So if we're seeing a physical variant of Tapu Koko rather than a special one, you'll be able to survive that attack as well, which is really nice. Now for the seed, because you're getting the defensive boost, and you don't really want to be wasting that. I feel like you want to be keeping Ho-Oh around on the field for a lot longer than you would normally, not want to switch it out so much, so you probably need a lot more support in your team, and make sure that you've got something like Groudon or another weather type to get rid of those threatening water type attacks and things like that, and also good checks to rock types as well, just to protect Ho-Oh. But the thing is, so you're not wasting that boost by just clearly switching it out. I've went for a set that kind of benefits from sitting on the field for a long time, so it is bulky, it'll be able to take attacks really well. It's got Roost for recovery. I would personally go for Substitute here. It gives you that little bit more protection, especially against things like Amoonguss and Smeagol and things like that. And then I've went for Toxic, because you can Toxic Stall with this set. You've got that extra defensive boost. You're already stupidly strong in special defense, so you've got the recovery there, so you can Toxic Stall things out. And then for the primary attack, I've went for Brave Bird because it gives you the most coverage. Whereas if Rain's up and you've only got Flare Blitz and you're up against a Kyogre, you can't really hit it, and for most situations Brave Bird's going to be the better option. You might struggle against Steel types, certain Steel types, with just the Brave Bird, so you might want to change to the Flare Blitz for those reasons, but it will depend on the rest of the coverage within the team, depending on that move slot. But I do really like this option of playing Ho-Oh. It's a bit more stally, it's a bit more a slower kind of moving kind of build, but one that I think has a lot of potential as well. And you don't need to, you know, the one thing I will say with all of these sample sets is you can interchange the move sets and how Ho-Oh is meant to operate within your team, depending on what partners you've got and what your other 5 Pokemon are and the core elements of its strategy are. So you don't need to just stick with, if you go Electric Seed, you don't need to run Toxic Stall on it. You can definitely run Roost, Tailwind, Flare Blitz, Brave Bird. It will work just as well. But you know, these are just sample sets. These are just to give you guys ideas of how these Pokemon can be run, and I hope you all find them helpful. But don't take them as, you see this, you need to run it like this. It's not that case at all. It's just an example. And like I say, interchanging them, mixing them up, it will work. You just need to keep in mind some of the EV spreads are specific to the items. That's the only thing. Moving on to our next sample set is the Safety Goggles variant. So Safety Goggles gives you the immunity from spores, from Amoonguss, from Smeagol. It gives you immunity from Rage Powder and things like that, which is very nice because you're going to get things like Smeagol. Well, not Smeagol, but like Amoonguss that will be wanting to pull an attack away from something like Solgaleo to protect it from a Sacred Fire and be able to take it and things like that. But Safety Goggles get around that and allow you to perform a little bit better. And for this set, I've put Raw on Ho-Oh. It does get access to it, and I feel because of how well it can take any Xerneas attack, even boosted, it's a very good Pokemon to have to remove Xerneas from the field after it's boosted or as it is boosting. And with the Safety Goggles, you don't need to worry about Rage Powder support in those situations. You know it's going to just be ignored and you'll be able to roll out the slot that you want. Obviously Follow Me is a little bit different, but at the same time, once you've rolled the Follow Me user out, you know Ho-Oh is bulky enough to be able to take a +2 attack from a Xerneas and still roar it out the next turn. Your opponent is a bit locked into not being able to get around that because you can't protect on a roar, obviously. So that is that set. And then we've got I thought, why not? We have to throw a physical offensive set in here. It's straight down the line like we've had in most guides. We go for the very basic, does what it says on the box kind of set. It's a Life Orb, Jolly Nature, 252 attack, 4 special defense, 252 speed, max speed just to get the most out of it, max attack just to make sure that we're hitting as hard as we can, especially with that Life Orb boost. Protect, I went for a combination of either Iron Head, Earthquake, Bulldoze. You could even go Substitute, Tailwind there, anything you wanted, Roar even if you wanted, and then Sacred Fire and Brave Bird on there. Like I said, it's a very straightforward set, but it's something that you can have a play around with. It might fit your team very well, but personally I feel like Ho-Oh is one of those Pokemon that hits hard enough without any boosting, without much attack investment. It's still going to be, and it's able to take the attacks like we know it have, and we've seen the examples through this guide so far. So that's just my preference. Your preference might be, I want to go full physical, fast, speedy Ho-Oh, and that is fine. If it works for you, then that is great, but I need to try and give you some examples. So we might even see Life Orb Ho-Oh on the channel at some point. I don't know. Maybe. We'll make it happen, I guess. Okay. Right. So partners. Partners. The first partner we're going to look at is Tapu Koko, because Tapu Koko obviously helps combat against those water types that do threaten Ho-Oh quite severely. It's a fast pivot, is always going to be very good in this format. It helps with reposition and ball position and things like that. The terrain support is crucial for those seed sets, and it's also, as always, going to have that amazing speed tier to help scout scarfed opponents with its terrain. So very nice option to pair with Ho-Oh. The only drawback is that you're bringing the electric terrain, which can be really detrimental to Ho-Oh in general, because it's not going to enjoy taking electric type attacks. So boosting those, just you have to be a bit careful around that. Next partner is going to be Groudon. I personally think Groudon is a perfect partner for Ho-Oh. Like, perfect. I love Ho-Oh Groudon as a partnership. They have excellent defensive like switch-ins for Ho-Oh. Like, Ho-Oh's biggest threats are electric, water and rock. You bring Groudon in, it's immune to electric, it resists rock, and it's got the drought ability to weaken those water type attacks, so it's perfect. And it can hit electric and rock types for really good damage, and for the majority of water types, like the big one is going to be Kyogre. It's kind of, if you bring the sun in on it, you're forcing it out really to bring its weather back in, so you can play on that as well. We've talked about the drought ability and the offensive synergy there. I just really love, and just the synergy between these two is amazing. Groudon weak to grass types, Ho-Oh deals with. Ho-Oh great switch in. Ice types, Ho-Oh is going to be able to take most ice types. It's neutral, but it's so bulky, it's not going to really worry and shrug those off. And it's got the fire type in as well to really benefit from the sun and just pound down on them. It's a really good partnership. I really do like it, and something I would like to see used a lot more, but we'll see as the season goes on if that does happen or not. Next partner is going to be an obvious one that we've had in probably every guide so far, but for good reason, because it is probably one of the most used Pokemon outside of restricted Pokemon, and I think even including the restricted Pokemon, this Incineroar is probably one of the most used Pokemon in this format so far. Again, it's got the Intimidate ability, which supports that Ho-Oh. It just bolsters those defenses a bit more by weakening your opponent. It's got that Fire and Dark typing, Fake Out support to help set up, Tailwind, etc, substitutes. Loads of different things, just give you room to maneuver your ball position if you want to. Dark Fire typing for opposing threats as well, and we've talked about the Intimidate support already. So in a nutshell, we all know what Incineroar does, what it offers, and I think you can put it with most things in this format, but I'm listing it here because it is one of the more popular partners that you're seeing with Ho-Oh at the minute, so it's a partnership that you guys need to be aware of. It is very weak to Kyogre, so you're gonna have to have good checks if you do play this combination. You're gonna have to have really good checks and good switch-ins for Kyogre, because both will be really threatened by Kyogre and take so much damage, and you know, like, you're gonna have to have ways. If you don't have ways against Kyogre, you're not running this pairing correctly. Next partner is another very good friend of Ho-Oh's, is Ferrothorn, for very good reason. Obviously, it's the ability Iron Barbs and the typing Grass Steel. It's good for one reason. Ho-Oh is kind of middle tier speed. You don't really tend to run it fast. You very rarely see it run very fast. It has Tailwind, obviously, so in those situations, Tailwind goes up and it's going to be outspeeding most things. So to have the other side of the spectrum, which I always talk about, the two sides of the speed spectrum, you've got the fast end with the Tailwind, middle and tier without the Tailwind, and then the really back end, the bottom of the speed bracket. Take advantage of that Trick Room if it does go up, is that Ferrothorn, and players will tend to counter Tailwind with a Trick Room, so if you've got Ferrothorn in there, you can come in and really take advantage of that Trick Room environment. It's also just an excellent defensive switch in for Ho-Oh, and offensively it just deals with a lot of things that really threaten Ho-Oh pretty good, like all those bulky water types. Ferrothorn is easily able to switch in on those attacks, even electric type attacks it's able to switch in on. It's got the added bonus of being a steel type, so it threatens fairies as well. it's going to come in on rock slides, rock type attacks, and threaten them pretty easily. And if you pair these two together, you've got a really nice start for a really solid fire, water, grass core. So you just need that water typing in there, maybe Kyogre even. And then you've got a really nice solid core to kind of start your team from. Right, next partner is Ludicolo, another grass type. It's swift swim ability, grass, water typing, fast fake out support. To help again set up and just give Ho-Oh a bit of room to operate. Just for one reason, like Ludicolo is just extremely good as a partner for Ho-Oh. It's just probably one of the best anti-Kyogre checks. You know, it will benefit from the rain. It's going to outspeed whatever variant of Kyogre you're running and threaten it with those big grass knot attacks or energy ball or Giga Drain. People run that. I don't know, but yeah, Ludicolo is great just for that reason, and it's really nice defensive synergy as well, you know, to come in on those water type attacks. It's not going to enjoy taking electric type attacks, but depending on what variant of Ludicolo you're running, you might be running a Assault Vest that'll be able to come in on those, not too bad. So all in all, very nice partner and a good option for your team. Last partner we're going to look at is Landorus Therian. It is another common partner. He's seen quite a lot run with Ho-Oh at the moment. It's got that intimidated support, which helps again versus those big threatening physical type attacks. The electric and the rock mainly that you're going to see. Not too many physical water types out there at the moment, but as the format goes on, you might see a rise in popularity and stuff like Araquanid. So Intimidate's going to come in handy for that. And you've got the ground flying type, which again kind of pairs really nicely with Ho-Oh, especially for those electric type attacks mainly. The Intimidate support we've mentioned. The ground type, an excellent check for electric and rock types, so the offensive pressure there that you've got with Landorus is really nice. And again, a bit like Tapu Koko, if you're running a Choice Scarf variant, which works really nice with Ho-Oh because you've got that free option just to Earthquake, because if Ho-Oh's flying type, it's going to be affected by the fast Earthquake. It's a really nice option there, and then the fast U-turn and pivot, football positioning and so on, which is so important in this format. Right, we've looked at partners, we've looked at sample sets. Let's look at the threats and counter table. Obviously we've got electric types. We talked a lot about these throughout this guide. They are going to threaten Ho-Oh quite heavily, so you're going to have checks against them. Ground types, good switch-ins and ways to offensively hit them. You're going to have the big ones, obviously going to be Tapu Koko, Zekrom, and I'm just throwing in Raikou there because it is a Pokemon that hasn't seen much usage yet, but it's got a really nice speed tier and it can do some work in this format if played right. It's got Screen, Snarl, lots of options. Bulky waters are going to be difficult for Ho-Oh to deal with, namely Palkia will outspeed. It can hit for ridiculous damage with that Hydro Pump that it has access to, and you've got to be very cautious of the rain in those situations to boost that even further. Gastrodon, another one. If Trick Room goes up, it will be tricky to deal with. It does throw out solid water type attacks and it has access to recovery as well, and toxic is something that you need to be aware of on Gastrodon. Tapu Fini as well. It can deal with Ho-Oh to a certain extent, especially if there's Intimidate support beside it. You've got to remember as well, if you support Ho-Oh well enough against water type attackers, you can kind of out damage them with the Brave Bird damage. You've just got to have the right support next to it and help it operate a little bit. Kyogre obviously is a big obvious one. Rock type threats as well, going to be really difficult because for the majority, like Tyranitar completely walls Ho-Oh. Tyranitar isn't going to like taking a Sacred Fire and getting burned, but at the same time Tyranitar can be supported by Misty Terrain, so the burn's not even a thing, and if that is the case, Tyranitar will just sit in front of Ho-Oh all day and just throw out rock slides and just do what it wants, and it's going to make your life very difficult. Stack Attacker a slightly tall with the same brush, you know, if it gets a Trick Room up, those rock slides are going to be doing a chunk of damage. So two Pokemon that you need to really be prepared for and have good checks for. And walls and checks in general. Wash is definitely one. I haven't seen much played, but it's something to keep in mind. Just make sure that you've got in the back of your mind a way to get around that. It's not too difficult, but it's something that you don't want just popping up and surprising you and just cleaning you out. It is going to resist the fire and the flying type attacks, and it has got those water and electric type attacks to throw back onto you and do big damage. Zapdos, another Pokemon, it's not really going to care too much about the Sacred Fires or the burns there. It does outspeed you, and it will be able to do big damage with those Thunderbolt attacks or Thunders or whatever you see thrown out from it, electric wise. And then to round this whole thing off is Nihilego. Again, it's going to really not be too fussed about the Brave Birds. It's not going to really be bothered by the Sacred Fires. It's going to resist both of those. It has not the best defensive stat, but again, it will be able to take these attacks, and in return, well, it will outspeed most of the time unless you got Tailwind up. It will be able to outspeed and do big damage with those Power Gems, and Life Orb Power Gem is something you need to fear as well, because it will do absolutely horrendous damage. So there are a few examples, guys. I hope you have, and this will just wrap up the guide right now. I hope you've enjoyed. The lists, as always, could go on and on and on, but I've just picked out a few just to get you in the mind frame of what you need to be looking out for, what you need to be making sure you've got checks for if you're playing this Pokemon, because it's really important to have ways around these Pokemon that can cause you so many issues if you are running Ho-Oh. I love Ho-Oh. I hope its usage grows and grows and grows. It is a Pokemon that I think has so much potential, but never ever gets tapped into in a lot of these formats where it's available. So let's see, let's keep our fingers crossed. I have good feelings about Ho-Oh. I feel like it will definitely win 1 or 2 majors this season. So maybe you heard it here first, or maybe you've heard it somewhere else as well, because someone else might believe in it as much as I do. But I do think it is a very strong Pokemon this season, and just be aware of how strong it is. Hopefully this guide in particular has given you an idea of ways to combat against it if you aren't playing it yourself, so you won't be caught off guard when it's just sitting there tanking hits like a monster truck. But I hope you've enjoyed it, guys. We're going to wrap it up now. As always, if you have enjoyed the guide, please leave a like, and any comments in the comment section down below. I will get back to them as soon as possible. And stay tuned for another guide very soon. So until next time, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will speak to you all very shortly. So until then, take care, guys, and bye-bye.